Chapter 1749 One Sword. Chapter 1749 One Sword. The person who attacked was called Futian. He was a lower-level Renhuang who had a second-tier divine wheel. It was a flawless divine wheel of the Great Path. When he stepped out, the power of his divine wheel burst forth. In an instant, endless golden lightning appeared in the sky above Yi Futian's group. The lightning descended from the heavens above. It covered the sky and blocked out the sun. Each bolt of golden lightning contained the frightening power of the Great Path that sliced apart the space. It was as though anyone who was struck by the lightning would be blown apart into countless pieces. Yi Futian frowned. His gaze swept over to Shen Gao, who was still sitting there quietly. The latter was still drinking wine in the inn. His aura was calm, as though he had no intention of attacking. However, he also did not stop Futian from attacking them. The other cultivators from the Shen clan in the Outer Realms also lifted their heads and calmly observed. They were not worried about the members of the Heavenly Mandate Academy with powerful cultivation attacking Futian. Who would dare to do so? They were also somewhat curious. This youth that had led other cultivators and fought the Shen clan was a possessor of a flawless divine wheel. He was renowned as a peerless figure of this generation in the Void Realm. How capable was he? Could he stand against Futian? However, before Yi Futian even moved, a silhouette had already stepped out. It was Dou Zhao. His entire body was shining brightly, and he became a golden body fighting god. His also flawless divine will battle form burst forth. In an instant his intent for battle burned. Dou Zhao's entire body was burning with golden divine light. He sent out a punch, and his burly, domineering figure traversed the space like a shooting star. He directly attacked Futian's body. It seemed as though space itself had been punched through. Futian did not retreat at all. He also had no intention of evading. Was Dou Zhao trying to engage in close-quarter combat with his powerful melee force? Futian would grant Dou Zhao his wish. Futian clenched his fist, and it formed a divine fist. In an instant, an endless storm of golden lightning radiated from his fist. Blinding divine light burst forth from it. The cultivators of the Shen clan from the Outer Realms had sinister smiles on their faces. Even if the battle intent of Dou Zhao, who had a first-tier divine wheel, filled the skies, for him to rely on this to surpass the difference in planes and engage in close-quarter combat with Futian was foolish. Dou Zhao did not know his own strength. He must not know how powerful Futian's attack power was. Following the burst of endless golden lightning, Futian's fist directly collided with the overbearing punch headed his way. Blinding golden light swept across the sky, causing the space to tremble. In the sky above Heavenly Mandate City, destructive beams of light swept outwards. The shockwaves razed many buildings below. Bang! A dull explosion could be heard. The two figures were separated. The clothes on Futian's body fluttered in the wind. His long hair flew up. Even though he was knocked back a few steps, he was not injured at the slightest. However, the power of the other party's punch was indeed very powerful. It was enough to surprise Futian. Dou Zhao's figure was sent flying from the shockwave. His arm was trembling slightly. From the attack just now, he felt endless lightning that tore apart everything surged directly into his arm and his body. It tried to tear his body and spirit into countless pieces. This attack was very overbearing. If Dou Zhao did not have an unparalleled body and was just a normal Renhuang, he would have immediately been torn apart by that attack and perished on the spot. However, the battle intent in Dou Zhao's eyes still burned. He had no intention of backing down. He even wanted to continue activating the will of the fighting god. After forging a flawless divine wheel, Dou Zhao did not have many worthy opponents of the same level in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Now that Futian had appeared, it instead ignited Dou Zhao's fighting spirit. Yi Futian watched as the two of them collided. He understood that Dou Zhao would most likely be unable to defeat this opponent. As both of them were possessors of flawless divine wheels, the difference between their planes would naturally be visible from their combat power. You are no match for me. Step aside. Futian was not interested in Dou Zhao. His gaze was still staring at Yi Futian, who was behind Dou Zhao. Shen Xian wanted to see what the ability of the rumored top figure of the generation in the Void Realm was like. The Void Realm was the original realm. Even though it was in a state of decline, there were still rumors about many hidden figures in the Void Realm. This place was the origin of the Great Path. However, that was still all in the past. Now, the so-called original realm had long been in decline and was not worth mentioning. People preferred to refer to it as the Void Realm, a self-indulgent, sealed-off, illusory prison that was under the protection of Donghuang the Great. In Shen Xian's eyes, how could astonishing figures appear in the Void Realm that had been in decline for years? This top figure might have some ability. "Do Zhao, step back," Yi Futian said. Do Zhao looked back at Yi Futian. Although he wanted to continue fighting, since Yi Futian had spoken, Do Zhao retracted his aura and stood back in his original spot. Yi Futian turned to look at the other party. He took a step forward and looked at Shen Xian. Shen Xian extended his hand and gestured for Yi Futian to begin. In the inn, the cultivators of the Shen clan were still quietly watching. Shen Hao's expression was cold and indifferent. Although Yi Futian was their enemy, Shen Hao still hoped that Shen Xian would lose this battle. He was certain that Shen Xian would lose. These members of the clan from the outer realms were overconfident in themselves. Although they were all descended from the same bloodline and the same blood coursed in their veins, Shen Hao could clearly sense that these members had an air of superiority to them. It was not wise for Shen Hao to say anything, but Yi Futian might be able to teach these members a lesson that they would never forget. Hence, it could be said that Shen Hao's emotions now were somewhat conflicted. The other members watched calmly. Yi Futian extended his hand. In that instant, the sound of Guqin of the Great Path could be heard all around. With the Great Path as its strings, it was as though countless Guqins of the Great Path appeared in the vast space, their melodies harmonizing with one another. Frightening Sword will also appeared and resonated with the sounds of the Guqin. When Shen Xian saw this scene, he similarly extended his hand. Instantly, a golden spatial storm rampaged around them. Bolts of golden lightning seemed to appear everywhere, penetrating the space. Very soon, sword will and golden lightning ran rampant around them. The howling caused many people to tremble in fear. The two of them did not move at all. From afar, Yi Futian gently pushed his palm forward. Countless divine swords immediately resonated in the heavens above, seemingly forming a rhythm. The strength of the sword will instantly exploded. Blades of light slashed across the space towards Shen Xian's figure. Shen Xian's figure remained standing still. Bolts of golden lightning collided with the sharp swords that slashed towards him. Vent, vent, vent. Sounds of collisions kept sounding in the space. The scene was astonishing. The swords resonated in front of Yi Futian. The rhythmic sword will merged into one, becoming an extremely dazzling divine sword. This divine sword emanated unparalleled divine light that directly pierced through the space. The release sword will alone was extremely threatening. The crowd raised their heads and looked up into the sky. Above, with Yi Futian's figure as the center, countless divine swords and sword will surrounded him. The sound of Guqins and the hum of swords resonated. It was as though a world of the sword was formed. Shen Xian frowned when he sensed this sword will. He felt an intense threat emanating from Yi Futian. The sword will aura that was coalescing was extremely terrifying. Yi Futian remained standing there. The divine sword that formed before him resonated and gathered the will of the Great Path from all around him, forming a single sword. Yi Futian pointed his finger forward, and the sword instantly flew forwards. The birth of this sword astonished the heavens and the earth. The cold light of the sword reached even the highest heavens. Shen Xian immediately lifted his hand and struck out. Endless golden lightning formed a golden divine spear that pierced forwards. His movements were extremely swift. All of this was done in an instant. Swoosh, swoosh. Destructive golden divine light radiated outwards, causing it to be difficult for many people to keep their eyes open. The divine spear shattered and was followed by a loud sound. Shen Xian's figure was sent flying from the shockwave. Rumble. A frightening voice could be heard. Shen Xian's figure crashed into the inn that he was previously drinking wine in. It caused the inn to be blown apart and collapse. The figures of Shen Gao and the other members that were still sitting in the inn were left floating in midair. Shen Gao had to extend his palm to stop Shen Xian from flying further. Shen Xian's arm was trembling. The palm in which he wielded the spear was already bloody and bruised now. It was nearly crippled. Shen Xian's expression was extremely ugly. He withstood the pain and looked towards Yi Futian. He saw Yi Futian sweeping an indifferent glance at him. It was as though Yi Futian had not even broken a sweat to activate the might of his sword. Yi Futian did not say anything. He immediately turned and left. The cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Academy left together with him. "You do not know your own strength," Dou Zhao said to Shen Xian. So what if Shen Xian had come from the outer realms? Shen Xian was arrogant and wanted to challenge Yi Futian directly. He had thought too highly of himself. If it wasn't for the difference between their planes, Dou Zhao believed that he could also put up a fight against Shen Xian. Shen Xian frowned. Behind him, Shen Hao calmly observed all of this. He was not surprised at all with the result of this battle. These members from the outer realms were overconfident. Yi Futian is indeed a monstrous figure. Such a pity, Shen Gao lamented. Although Shen Xian had been injured, Shen Gao did not seem to have an intense reaction to it. On the contrary, if the person who led an army against the Shen clan was so simple, Shen Gao would instead be very disappointed with the Shen clan. Reality had proven that Yi Futian was indeed an extraordinary genius. It was unfortunate. Such a person originally could be used by the Shen clan. However, when Shen Gao was not around, it seems that the Shen clan had made some poor moves. It might have been due to the pride that they had held on to all these years. However, since it was already like this, they could only continue to make their next move. It was regrettable that such a genius had to die here. Right at that moment, in another area, the other group of figures that came from afar watched as the cultivators from the Heavenly Mandate Academy left. The leading elder looked at the few youths in front of him and asked, "What do you think about that sword?" The power of the divine wheel resonated and formed a sword, merging with the great path, a person said. This sword combined the power of many great paths. With the sword as a vessel, the might of the sword was unleashed at the end. Its destructive power is astonishing. Although the group was far away, they could clearly sense the might within the sword. That is right. This person's future lies beyond the void realm, the elder said with a smile. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1750 Soon-to-be Chaos. Chapter 1750 Soon-to-be Chaos in the Hidden Land Realm. Following the opening of the Gate of Hell in Jiuyo City, powerful figures came to this side of the world through Jiuyo City, one after another. Gradually, more powerful forces came over, until one day, a super force descended. They sent out a summons and made the various forces of the Hidden Land Realm pledge allegiance to them. The Hidden Land Realm was about to be unified. In the Hidden Land Realm, this caused an uproar. Everyone knew that this world had opened up. There were cultivators from the outside. Just as people thought that the local forces of the Hidden Land Realm would resist, they discovered that the forces that stood at the peak of the realm were unusually peaceful. It was as though they had long known who the other party was and where they came from. Many forces of the Hidden Land Realm continued to pledge their allegiance to this super force. Hell had reappeared in Jiuyo City and wanted to unify the Hidden Land Realm. The top forces of the Hidden Land Realm in Jiuyo City headed over to pledge their allegiances to this power. The influence of this incident had an unimaginable effect in the Hidden Land Realm. Only then did everyone realize what was happening. The opening of the Gate of Hell seemed to have pulled back the curtain of a new era. Many of the older generation now recalled that the rise of top forces of the Hidden Land Realm back in the day was due to the fall of Hell. Some people claimed that the top forces themselves were originally part of Hell. Now, the previous ruler of the Hidden Land Realm had returned. News of this incident spread very quickly to the other realms. However, all the top forces were surprisingly silent on the matter. In reality, they were already aware of what had transpired. Ordinary people might not have known about powerful cultivators entering the realms one by one during this time, but how could the top forces possibly not be aware of this? They had all experienced the age of turmoil hundreds of years ago. Now, the peace seemed to have been broken. The age of turmoil had once again descended. After encountering the cultivators of the Shun clan, Futian returned to the Heavenly Mandate Academy. He soon heard about the news from the Hidden Land realm. He was somewhat concerned about it. He seemed to have an unsettling premonition about the matter, and he appeared exceptionally serious. Futian was not concerned about himself, but rather about Qin Yao. Back in the Hidden Land realm, Futian had witnessed the incidents that Qin Yao had experienced. Now, a force from outside of the realm wanted to unify the Hidden Land realm. This force was very likely related to Hierophant Juyo as well as that demonic youth. If that was the case, that force had most certainly come for Qin Yao. Matters were gradually getting out of hand. If that force truly had the ability to unify the Hidden Land realm, then even their Heavenly Mandate Academy would be unable to stand against this opponent. After all, that force was neither the Shun clan nor Golden Divine Nation. Both the Shun clan and Golden Divine Nation still had reservations about going all out. The cost of fighting to the death was too great. However, that force was different. The other party was a force from the outer realms. They were not concerned about the deaths of the members of the Hidden Land realm. Just as Futian was contemplating on these matters, some people came over to visit the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Futian's will swept out, and he noticed that one of them was very powerful. It was very likely that this person was also from a force from the outer realms. In the area where the Heavenly Mandate Academy held banquets to receive their guests, Futian and many cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Academy had gathered to receive this guest of theirs. When the group arrived, Futian rose and smiled, saying, "Seniors, you have traveled far to arrive here. I, Futian, have prepared a special banquet for all of you. Please enjoy." "Little friend, Yi doesn't need to be so polite. Please, join us," the leading elder replied with a smile. From the look of it, Futian already knew that they were from the outer realms. All of them took their seats. Futian sat in the main seat, and Hua Jiyu sat beside him. The elder who sat across from them looked at Hua Jiyu. Futian introduced her, saying, "This is my wife, Hua Jiyu." Hua Jiyu sat there quietly. She seemed to accept Futian's form of address for her calmly. She even nodded slightly at the elders sitting across from them. Such a peerless pair of spiritual partners. "You invite the envy of others," the elder said with a smile. "I am sure little friend Yi knows about things that are happening in the Void Realm now." "Yes." Futian nodded. "However, for me, this place is not the Void Realm. This is an actual world." "Naturally. The Void Realm is but a title we give to this place. It is not that important," the elder replied with a smile. In reality, after the great emperor conquered and united the Divine Prefecture, he also gained control of the Void Realm. Hence, the Void Realm can also be considered as a part of the Divine Prefecture. My group and I come from the Divine Prefecture. Futian felt slightly emotional. As expected, when Donghuang the Great united the Divine Prefecture 300 years ago, the war happened not only in the Void Realm, it involved the outer realms too. In the end, the great emperor seized control of the Void Realm. Where exactly are the Void Realm and the Divine Prefecture? Futian asked curiously. According to Granny, the two were overlapping spaces. These top figures from the outer realms would surely have a better understanding of this. In the outer realms, we named this space the Void Realm because it symbolizes that this is an illusory world. It is not a real world. In short, the Void Realm has never existed, yet its existence is everywhere. The elder continued with a smile. For cultivators in the Void Realm, this is a huge secret that is known to few people. However, I don't mind telling little friendy about it now. The Void Realm and the outer realms are overlapped. The existence of the Void Realm can be ignored entirely. For example, our current location is a totally different place in the outer realms. The two locations share the same coordinates. However, you can't see it nor sense it. So it means that we are in two parallel universes. However, under specific circumstances, We can interact with each other, right? Yi Futian asked while looking at the elder. You can consider it so. The elder nodded in agreement with a smile. Yi Futian's gaze turned serious. No wonder this space was called the Void Realm. The cultivators in the outer realms could totally treat the Void Realm as a space that did not exist. It was as though here was a sealed-off space. Why would such a situation occur? Yi Futian asked. Little friend Yi, have you heard of the collapse of the heavenly path? The elder replied with another question. Yes. Yi Futian nodded. The Void Realm has another name. It is also called the Original Realm. It is the birthplace of the heavenly path. The collapse of the heavenly path caused the great paths of the world to expand, crumble, and be destroyed. This unique phenomenon of overlapping spaces was born out of it. Eons ago, the Void Realm was the source world. Hence, it is also called the Original Realm. The elder continued to explain, because of this, for the past centuries, even though the Void Realm has been drained of all its fate and luck, those forces at the top of the world are still fighting to seize control of the Void Realm. The top of the world? Yi Futian mumbled. What about Donghuang the Great? The elder nodded slightly. With a smile, he said, I will not speak of these things. Little friend Yi, you will know about these things in the future. With your talent, you will sooner or later venture out into the outer realms. Now is also a good opportunity to do so. Yi Futian nodded his head slightly. He indeed wanted to venture out to the outer realms. However, he did not believe that now was the time. The Heavenly Mandate Academy was still not powerful enough. He himself was also not powerful enough. Little friend Yi, have you considered using this opportunity to venture out? The elder asked Yi Futian with a smile. When Yi Futian heard what the elder said, he understood that the other party intended to win him over. With a smile, he replied, Junior indeed wants to venture out. However, now is not the time for me. I have too many things that I need to settle on this side. The elder said as he nodded his head. In the near future, the Void Realm might fall into chaos. Little friend, you should be prepared. All right, Yi Futian replied. Thank you, Senior, for the reminder. If you need any help, you can come find me. I will be in the Void Realm during this time, so it should be easy to locate me, the elder said again. Surely. Yi Futian nodded. However, if that day really came, it would most likely be the time when Yi Futian needed to seek refuge from the elder. Naturally, Yi Futian would want to avoid that. At their levels, Yi Futian was not so naive to believe that the elder would help him just because he asked for his aid. The so-called help would come with an equivalent price. Clearly, this elder thought of Yi Futian as someone valuable. Since our conversation has come to an end, I will not disturb you any further. The elder rose to his feet with a smile. Yi Futian did not keep him around any longer, either. He personally guided the elder out of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. After the elder had left, Yi Futian stood at his spot and pondered for a moment. Was this world going to fall into chaos soon? After the elder and his group had gone far, a youth beside the elder asked, Master, is that all that we are going to do? He is intelligent. We don't have to say much, the elder responded with a profound smile. Do you find it odd? We didn't even introduce ourselves, and he didn't ask either. The youth fell silent for a moment, then he conjectured, Master was waiting for him to ask, right? The elder smiled and answered, This genius of the Void Realm appears docile and friendly. However, he is extremely arrogant. He didn't consider my suggestion at all, so he didn't even bother asking for my name. Since he has no intention of asking help from us, I don't have to intentionally tell him. Perhaps he has no idea what kind of forces we are, the youth said. Even though there were also giant figures in the Heavenly Mandate Academy, they paled into insignificance when compared to ancient clans from the Divine Prefecture. The teachings of the ancient clans from the Divine Prefecture were far more superior than that of the forces from the Void Realm. One day, a few supreme-level forces descended at Joyo City in the Hidden Land Realm. Some top figures had personally come to visit Joyo City. In Joyo City, the atmosphere in the Hell Palace was solemn, and many domineering auras appeared without warning. Many cultivators had gathered in this Hell Palace. On the throne in the palace sat a majestic black-robed figure. The aura faintly emanated by him caused the entire palace to be suppressed by a might. However, at this moment, a strong aura fluctuation was suddenly detected in the sky above Joyo City. Then, a silhouette appeared in the sky. The next moment, the spatial swirl disappeared. In the Hell Palace, the black-robed figure raised his head and swept a glance in the direction where the visitor was. His gaze locked onto the visitor from miles apart. The visitor wore a simple black robe, and his black hair covered his shoulder. He appeared callous, and his gaze was cold. He gave off the might of a ruler. "Who has come? Quickly come here to receive your orders." Beside the throne of the Hell Palace, a domineering silhouette cried out loudly across the endless space. The silhouette's voice reached the ears of the figure who had arrived. However, the figure that appeared merely swept a calm glance at them. His gaze also seemed to penetrate the space. He merely glanced at them, and then he turned to leave. Presumptuous. Seeing that the other party ignored him, the person next to the throne unleashed his might. A majestic might gushed forth and surrounded the entire space. In the sky, a dark Madra of death appeared and directly slammed down on the visitor. The visitor turned around, and a huge palm print crashed down on him. However, the palm print was shattered into dust. The visitor stood quietly there as he gazed at the other party. In that instant, the figure beside the throne, who was at the peak of the Renhuang Plain, felt as though a demon had appeared before him. It was like the demon was standing before him and looking down on him. "Get lost," the other party ordered. The existence at the peak of the Renhuang Plain actually took several steps backward. He felt as though he had received a heavy blow. He had a look of surprise. The expressions of the surrounding cultivators also changed as they looked in astonishment at the silhouette in the distance. The black-robed figure who sat on the throne was also staring at the other party. The two of them exchanged a glance. "Do not meddle in this affair." The black-robed visitor cast an indifferent glance at the cultivator who sat on the throne. Then he turned to leave. The gaze of the cultivator who sat on the throne changed slightly. He revealed a strange expression as he exclaimed, "A representative from the devil world is here too. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1751 Who was he? Chapter 1751 Who was he? In the heavenly mandate realm, a black-robed figure had arrived at a demonic city, which was in the territory of the demon realm. The aura emanated by the black-robed figure was terrifying. Many demonic beasts around him stared at him cautiously. Then, all of them subconsciously avoided him. Even though this black-robed figure did not emanate a strong aura, demonic beasts had a sharp sense of smell, and they could sense that he was a threat. This human before them was very powerful. However, currently, almost the entire heavenly mandate realm had been united. The relationship between the human cultivation world and the demon realm was not as tense as it was before this. With the Heavenly Mandate Academy as the center, the humans and the cultivators of the demon realm formed a strong alliance. Hence, the various demonic beasts were not too concerned about this person. They merely avoided the person quietly. The black-robed figure walked until he came to a huge mountain range. He swept a glance at the mountain range before he advanced forward into the mountains with one step. "This is the land of dragon gods. You are forbidden to enter," a powerful voice cried out. A dragon figure took to the skies and circled above, his gaze locked on the black-robed figure. "I am looking for someone," the black-robed figure said indifferently. As he said this, his will swept out and directly enveloped the land of dragon gods. At that moment, many cultivators of dragon gods were shocked. The cries of dragons could be heard. The black-robed figure immediately walked into the mountain range of dragon gods as he spoke. The dragons roared as they charged at him. However, there was a demonic might circling the black-robed figure. In an instant, extremely overbearing pressure enveloped the entire mountain range. Under this immense pressure, the dragons actually felt themselves being pushed down. Even though they were existences at the level of demon emperors, their huge figures were all trembling, and they were roaring restlessly. "Which power has descended upon dragon gods?" a hoarse voice called out that filled the sky. In the distance, a silhouette dressed in long purple robes appeared. It was Dragon Master. Dragon Master watched the black-robed figure closely. He actually sensed a strong might from the latter. Naturally, Dragon Master knew that this world had not been peaceful recently. Many powerful figures had arrived. Could the person before him be one of the outsiders? "Where is the demonic dragon?" the black-robed figure asked. Hiswell had scanned through the entire territory of dragon gods, but he actually had not found the demonic dragon. Dragon Master's eyes narrowed slightly. He stared at the black-robed figure intently, asking, "Who are you?" The black-robed figure continued to expand his will, and his will reached a restricted area in the territory of dragon gods, the abyss of the dragon. His domineering will directly broke the seal and penetrated into the abyss. Then, a scene was revealed to him in his mind. There was a hidden space in the abyss of the dragon. The black-robed figure turned around and left immediately. He took a step forward, and his figure directly disappeared from his original spot. Dragon Master watched his movements, but he did not stop the black-robed figure. Or more precisely, he was not confident that he could stop the black-robed figure. Dragon Master looked in the direction of the abyss of the dragon. His facial expression turned extremely serious in an instant. He had considered a possibility. "Your Highness." All the dragons looked at Dragon Master for instructions. Dragon Master waved his hand and said, "Do not act rashly." After he said that, he strode in the direction where the abyss of the dragon was. Right now, the passageway had been activated. Did the people from that place come here too? In the abyss of the dragon, numerous chains locked an enormous demonic dragon in place. He lay on the ground on his belly. His aura was much weaker than before. He had been recovering his vigor all these years. A few years ago, he extracted his dragon's soul out of his body, and his vigor was greatly impacted. Suddenly, a black-robed figure appeared in front of him. His dark eyes stared at the demonic dragon intently. The demonic dragon let out a roar in a low voice. He stood up and he held his head up high. Arrogantly, he stared at the black-robed figure before him. The black-robed figure appeared exceptionally tiny in front of the demonic dragon, but his aura was powerful even though he was standing there casually. "Where is your master?" the black-robed figure asked the demonic dragon. The eyes of the demonic dragon suddenly released frightening demonic light. However, the black-robed figure merely stared back at him with a cold gaze. In an instant, the demonic dragon seemed to not only see a simple silhouette but instead a stalwart and overbearing demon. The huge figure of the demonic dragon shifted uneasily. The huge eyes of the demonic dragon were locked onto the other party. "Who are you?" The eyes of the demonic dragon were staring at the demon. "You should be able to guess where I am from," the black-robed figure calmly replied. The figure of the demonic dragon was still shifting around. Had they arrived? After the incident back then, there was no news about him. "He might be long gone," the demonic dragon replied as he stared at the other party with cautious eyes. The black-robed figure looked him back in the eye. "Long gone?" The black-robed figure had not heard any news of him dying and had also not seen a corpse. Some claimed that it was possible that he was still alive and might even have returned. However, they knew that he had never returned. "You seem to know something," the black-robed figure said as he stared into the demonic dragon's cautious-looking gaze. "I have always been imprisoned here. What could I possibly know?" The demonic dragon retorted. "Is that so?" The black-robed figure took a step forward. His demonic might bellowed and enveloped the body of the demonic dragon. The huge figure of the demonic dragon shook. The black-robed figure's eyes seemed to pierce his own. The black-robed figure raised his palm and struck the demonic dragon on his head. Roar! The demonic dragon cried out. Demonic might churned, and a powerful aura swept out. However, the palm of the black-robed figure seemed to contain endless dominant power. His palm pressed down immediately, as though he had suppressed and restrained the huge figure of the demonic dragon. He placed his hand on the head of the demonic dragon. Rumble! He pressed down on his palm, and the body of the demonic dragon was immediately pressed down. The demonic dragon was originally heavily injured. He did not have the strength to resist at all. Even if he was in his prime, he was no match for this black-robed figure. The huge figure of the demonic dragon was sprawled out on the ground. The palm print of the black-robed figure was engorged in his head. The black-robed figure stood before the demonic dragon's head. His pair of demonic eyes stared into the eyes of the demonic dragon and immediately pierced through them, invading his consciousness. "If you do not wish to suffer, then keep quiet," the black-robed figure said indifferently. Outside, Dragon Master and many cultivators of dragon gods were around. However, the vast demonic might that churned below was extremely terrifying. This caused the Dragon Master's facial expression to turn somewhat ugly. The demonic dragon knew that the black-robed figure's cultivation was more powerful than his own. He was no match for the black-robed figure. In the deep abyss, after a short while, the black-robed figure obtained what he wanted to know. A silhouette appeared in his mind. The black-robed figure lifted his palm from his opponent's head. His gaze was also gentler and not as cold as before. "Does anyone know that you have taught him before?" the black-robed figure asked the demonic dragon. "There are some of my clansmen who know," the demonic dragon replied. "He does not know. This matter most likely has not spread outside. What do you plan to do with him?" The black-robed figure remained silent. He could not make the decision for this matter. "Have you ever considered that if I did not appear and did not take him away, you would have been a potential danger? You should not have taught him," the black-robed figure said as he stared at the demonic dragon. He did not speak these words out loud. His voice was directly transmitted into the other party's mind. The demonic dragon was stunned as he raised his head and looked at the black-robed figure. "I have been trapped here for so many years. Please end this for me," the demonic dragon asked of the black-robed figure. The black-robed figure looked him in the eye and remained silent for a short while. He then transmitted, saying, "Give me your dragon's soul then." The demonic dragon was stupefied for a moment. His body trembled slightly. He was hesitating. Giving the black-robed figure his dragon's soul was harder than death. "I have no use of your dragon's soul," the black-robed figure continued. The demonic dragon seemed to have understood something. He lowered his head, saying, "Take it." The black-robed figure stared at the demonic dragon. He was a rather loyal dragon. "This is your honor," the black-robed figure assured. "My honor." The demonic dragon lowered his head, and the black-robed figure once again put his palm on the dragon's head. In the deep abyss, an alarming roar of a dragon could be heard. It was as though the dragon was experiencing excruciating pain. A moment later, the black-robed figure appeared in the sky above the abyss. Dragon Master and many cultivators had their gazes fixed on him. Dragon Master and the rest did not hear the conversation between the black-robed figure and the demonic dragon. They knew nothing about what had happened, but they knew that the demonic dragon had died. "Why did you do that?" Dragon Master asked. The black-robed figure cast a glance at him indifferently. Then, he turned around and left, not offering any response to Dragon Master. He did not need to explain himself to the latter. Dragon Master stood in the sky above the abyss of the dragon. His demonic aura churned ferociously as he stared at the black-robed figure leaving. He was Dragon Master of dragon gods. However, he felt helpless at this moment. With the ability of this black-robed figure, let alone Dragon Master, most likely nobody in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path was a match for him. In the Heavenly Mandate Academy, Yu Sheng was training quietly. Suddenly, he felt an unusual movement in the dragon's soul within his body. The demonic might churned uncontrollably in his body. He opened his eyes and stopped cultivating. Yu Sheng took a step forward. Currently, he was already a demon emperor. His existence gave off an extremely strong pressure on the people around him. His might was domineering and his aura was powerful. He frowned slightly as he stared into the distance. He felt uneasy inside. What had happened? Had something occurred in the territory of the dragon gods? If something really happened, Dragon Master would come here right away using the teleportation Grand Matrix, right? A day later, in a tavern in Heavenly Mandate City, A black-robed figure was sitting alone drinking wine as he listened to the conversations of the people around him. Most of them were talking about the cultivators that had recently arrived here and that there were other worlds outside of theirs. Of course, occasionally, somebody would talk about a youth called Futian. Yesterday, the black-robed figure had already arrived here from the demon realm and learned of some matters. Now, he had an even deeper understanding of the matters here. He lowered his wine cup as he gazed into the distance in the direction of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. In the Heavenly Mandate Academy, the most famous person was not Yusheng. Not many people actually knew of Yusheng. Clearly, his fame was not too great. However, Futian was like the sun in the sky. He was renowned in the 9 realms. Although he had just reached the Renhuang Plain, he had already caused such an uproar. Yusheng had always been following Futian and trained with him. They seemed to have been together for a very long time. They came together from the lower worlds and should have known each other for many years. The black-robed figure naturally knew who Yusheng was and whose blood coursed through his veins. However, a person like Yusheng had actually been following another youth. This youth had unparalleled talent and was known as the top figure of this generation. It didn't amount to anything if the black-robed figure did not know who Yusheng was. However, knowing the identity of Yusheng, it was easy for the black-robed figure to try and speculate. Had he intentionally arranged for this to happen? If so, then what was the true identity of the youth called Futian? Who was he? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1752 came for someone? Chapter 1752 came for someone. The man in dark robes was eating and drinking at the restaurant, everyone around him watching him. He gave off an aloof air. Everyone could tell that this man was strong. Extremely strong. Some people could just sit there, not even giving off an aura, and they would still give off a feeling like that. This was what happened when you trained for many years. No matter where you were, everyone could sense a sort of invisible force field around you. But the man in black did not care what anyone else thought. He was thinking about Futian's identity. If he had not guessed wrong, Yusheng was his son. So did Futian, with his surname Yi, have anything to do with Emperor Yiqing? At that moment, the man in black seemed to realize something. Suddenly, a powerful burst of pressure went out from him. In a flash, everyone in the restaurant could feel a suffocating force. They looked shocked, and they could not help but tremble. Although they had already guessed that this man was very strong, this pressure that it was hard to tell if it even existed was still frightening. Everyone else rose up and left with great difficulty. The weakest among them felt their legs tremble as they were under so much pressure. In the blink of an eye, the restaurant was empty. The man in black was left sitting there alone. At that moment, a terrifying aura swept over from a distance. The man in black looked up, seeming to see across a great distance. His gaze met that of another. An incomparably terrifying force filled a vast area. Even people at the Renhuang level had difficulty breathing under it. However, there was nothing in the place the power was emanating out of, just 2 invisible airflows. This gave everyone a strange feeling. What was happening here? The 2 of them looked at each other from across the distance. The black-robed figure seemed to see an old man within a great hall in the Heavenly Mandate Academy. This man was also incredibly powerful. He said telepathically, "You have been watching the Heavenly Mandate Academy for so long. Would you like me to teach you a lesson?" "Whenever you want," said the black-robed man. His voice was still cold. Here in the Void Realm, he knew there was no one who could threaten him. No matter if it were the Dragon Gods or the Heavenly Mandate Academy, he would not hide from them. He would go there openly. The man at the Heavenly Mandate Academy, facing him, was naturally Lord Taishin. "It is a bit rude of you to spy on us like this. I hope that in the future, you will be a bit more proper," said Lord Taishin. He naturally could feel how powerful the man in black was. Facing someone like this, who had probably come from another realm, he could not act too forcefully. Otherwise, he would cause problems for the Heavenly Mandate Academy. If the other man had no ill intent, then this simple reminder would be enough. The black-robed man did not say anything. His aura dissipated, and he no longer looked over at the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Lord Taishin saw the man's divine consciousness disperse, and his aura retract. In a moment, the two mighty auras that had clashed in midair were completely gone, making the people who had felt them think they had only imagined it. Within the Heavenly Mandate Academy, Lord Taishin had retracted his aura as well, but there was still a slight frown on his face. These days, the world was getting more and more violent. This unknown cultivator who was focusing on the Heavenly Mandate Academy and was very strong made him feel threatened. There were few people at that high a level. It seemed that the power of the outer realms was much stronger than that of the mortal world. At that moment, Futian was walking over. He looked at Lord Taishin and asked, "Who is it?" Lord Taishin shook his head and said, "It seems to be a cultivator from the outer realms who is extremely strong. His aura is no less than my own. But when I said something to him, he immediately retracted his aura. I don't know what he wants. It seems he has no ill intent. I don't know what he is here for." Futian was silent for a few moments. He had felt someone watching him, and thus he had come here to Lord Taishin. Then Lord Taishin had directly found out who was doing it. "I hope it is just like the old man from before," said Futian. "But many people at this level have appeared lately. This part of the world is certainly about to become chaotic." That was his prediction. Some things were going to happen. "Yes," said Lord Taishin, nodding. "The news has already come out from the Hidden Land realm. Hell has reappeared and conquered Joyo City. Then they summoned all the cultivators of the Hidden Land realm to give them orders. In this way they conquered the entire realm. Moreover, if they are really this bold, they might actually have the strength to succeed." Futian narrowed his eyes. If the Hidden Land realm had really been conquered by hell, what was going to happen? He did not know, but it definitely would not be a good thing. "My lord Futian," said someone else, "there is news from the mountain realm. Tianxian Temple has attacked the Xinxing clan. This time their attack was extremely fierce. They wanted to eliminate the Xinxing clan from the mountain realm completely. The clan lord was forced to flee as the abbot of Tianxian Temple was there himself, pursuing him all the way." "The mountain realm?" A look of surprise came over Lord Taishuan's face. "I never thought that would be the first realm to change. Tianxian Temple is very bold. It seems like they made their decision after the battle in the Hidden Land realm." Futian nodded. At that time, everything that the clan lord of the Xinxing clan had done had infuriated Tianxian Temple. The clan lord had even stolen the treasures of the Vajrabuddha. How could Tianxian Temple forgive them? However, the clan lord of the Xinxing clan was a false monk and had no mercy in his heart. Perhaps he did not care if the people of the Xinxing clan lived or died. There is also news from the Hidden Land realm. All of the forces, great and small, have gone to Joyo City to see the refounding of hell, said the man who had come. A solemn look came into Lord Taishuan's eyes. "Understood," he said. The other man left, and Lord Taishin and Futian looked at each other. Lord Taishin said, "Go and cultivate, there is no point in thinking too much about this. We will see how the situation develops." Futian nodded and left. He returned to his place of cultivation, a heavy feeling in his heart. But when he saw Hua Jiyu, a warm smile appeared his face. "Is something wrong?" she asked him. "Can you always see when something is wrong with me?" asked Futian, walking up to her. Hua Jiyu did not say anything. She reached out a graceful hand and took him by the hand. She looked at him, and Futian thought his heart would melt. At that moment he had a strange feeling. It was as if Jiyu had really come back. He looked into her beautiful eyes and embraced her, giving her a tender "is." Hua Jiyu's eyes were still open wide, but Futian blinked as he looked into her beautiful face. There was a hint of shyness there. This feeling seemed so strange. It seemed so sweet. His heart beat even faster. Why was he having this feeling? Futian let her go, then pulled her forward by the hand. He was much happier now. He had managed to survive in the Holy Ji Palace in the 9 states all those years ago. No matter how chaotic things were now, were they really more chaotic than they had been then? The Holy Ji Palace had come under siege. Now, the chaos of the 9 realms had begun. It had started with the mountain realm and the hidden land realm. On the second day, another group of cultivators descended on the Heavenly Mandate Academy. They had come from the hidden land realm. The person at their head was Lian Qingyi, the goddess of the clan of the god ghost in the hidden land realm. When Yi Futian had first gone to the hidden land realm, he had gone to visit her. Now, she and many other cultivators had come to the Heavenly Mandate realm to visit him. When he saw her once again, her manner seemed to have changed. She seemed a little dispirited, not as confident as before. "How is that you have time to come and see me?" asked Yi Futian with a smile when he saw her. "This time I came here for someone," she said to him. Yi Futian frowned slightly and said directly, "In that case, you should leave." Lian Qingyi obviously had not thought that Yi Futian would refuse her even before she had made her request. He obviously knew who she wanted. "The hidden land realm has been conquered by hell," she suddenly said, making Yi Futian look up at her in surprise. "So quickly? Was hell really that strong? Listen to my plea. Give this person to me." The Heavenly Mandate Academy cannot resist hell's power. "Even with your alliances, it will not be enough," Lian Qingyi pleaded. Yi Futian stared at her. "Was hell really so powerful?" "But hell was destroyed in the past," said Yi Futian. "I have heard my clan lord speak of that, but it is not as simple as people imagine. There is a great amount of power behind hell, truly frightening power. It was said that in that year, it was the forces behind hell that lost to the emperor," said Lian Qingyi. "They lost to the emperor. Do you understand? How could the Heavenly Mandate Academy hope to get involved in a conflict at this level?" Yi Futian looked at her. Did this mean that the power behind hell was a top force of the outer realms? Although they had lost to the emperor, this meant that they were powerful enough to fight him. They were without question on the same level as him, at the very peak of what was possible. "Can you at least tell me why you want her?" asked Yi Futian. "Do the powers behind hell want her?" Qing Yao, who had been born with a law body, had broken all the norms of cultivation. She had never cultivated, but she could still kill a renhuang. She could be called a fate-defying figure. She was the most frightening person he had ever seen, bar none. It seemed that in this current situation, all the great powers wanted her. What had she dragged them into? "You are too hard on me, Emperor Yi. How should I know a secret like this?" said Lian Qingyi. "Just trust me. You know how terrible she is. She is no relation to you, so just give her to me." Yi Futian stared at Lian Qingyi. From what she said, it sounded like the powers behind hell really did want Qing Yao. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1753 Killing in 10. Chapter 1753 Killing in 10 Heartless and Faithless? Yi Futian looked at Lian Qingyi and smiled. "Qing Yao has the same surname as me, thus, she calls me brother. Don't you think, in that case, that it would not be fitting for me to hand her over to you? Moreover, since the hell wants her, why do they not come and get her themselves if they are so strong that they conquered the hidden land realm? You are not being honest with me, are you, goddess?" Lian Qingyi's expression changed slightly when she heard him say this. This was indeed a matter that had been tasked to her by her superiors. If she could complete it successfully, she would have the chance to come to the attention of the forces behind hell. This was incredibly important to her. As far as she was concerned, the hidden land realm and the void realm were only holding her back now. She wanted to find a new, more powerful master. "You are putting too much thought into this," she said. "None of the great powers of the hidden land realm had the power to resist the power of hell. Can you imagine, then, how powerful the forces behind hell must be, Emperor Yi? I know it is hard for you to accept this, but after all, she is only a girl that you have not known for long. The many people of the Heavenly Mandate Academy are all your friends. Is it worth putting all of their lives at risk just for this one girl? Do you think that this is the way I see the matter?" said Yi Futian with a sarcastic smile. "I can remember the opening of the gate of hell. The things that happened before that attracted the attention of all the 9 realms. Were there any figures from the hidden land realm among them?" Lian Qingyi stared at him, then smiled and stood, saying, I can tell your mind is made up, so there seems to be no more need to discuss this. Since you doubt me so much, I will say farewell. I hope you will take care of yourself. Yi Futian smiled as well, saying, in the past, hell was destroyed and wiped away by the 9 realms. You should think long and hard about your choice. I don't need to see you out. You can find your own way out. A cold look came into Lien Qingyi's eyes. She turned and left. The whole group left with her, soon disappearing from the heavenly mandate realm. After they left, Yi Futian turned and said, still eavesdropping, I see. Yi Qingyao came out, pulling Nianyu behind her, with her head lowered. Although she did not understand these forces, she was becoming mature enough to begin to have some idea of what they wanted. Qingyao, you shouldn't worry about any of this, said Yi Futian, stepping forward and placing a hand on her shoulder. She said with a nod. Then she pulled Nianyu's hand and said, let's go play Nianyu. Okay, said Nianyu. She looked at Yi Futian, then left with Qingyao. That girl is hiding something in her heart, said Lord Taixien, walking up. Nianyu will always tell you when she wants something, but Qingyao is different. She is not good at expressing herself, but would rather hide her feelings inside. This was caused by the environment she grew up in. Yi Futian nodded slightly, then said, my lord, hell was wiped out many years ago. They have laid low ever since then and are only now coming back. This must mean that they have some misgivings. Of course, the world has been conquered by Donghuang the Great, but the powers behind hell are no less than him. But they were defeated once, said Lord Taixien. Thus, they must want to take Qingyao away directly. That is why they sent people here to threaten us. Yi Futian nodded. Lien Qingyao had acted like she was concerned for him, but how could he not have heard the threat behind her words? She wanted him to give Qingyao to her directly. As the two of them were talking, Lord Taixien looked up into the distance and said, they are here. I did not think they would come so quickly. As he said this, Yi Futian felt another aura, an incredibly powerful one that made everyone who felt it feel uncomfortable. Soon, golden divine light fell from high up in the sky, covering the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The cultivators of the academy looked up into the sky and saw the endless divine light. A group of Buddha-like figures stood there as if they had come from heaven. The cultivators of the mountain realm had come. On the battlefield of hell, Yi Futian had learned that the mountain realm had been involved in the decisive battle with hell all those years ago. Gui Zong was among them as well. Yi Futian had seen the man at their head before. It was Master Pudu. Up in the sky, all the Buddhas folded their hands together, and they suddenly began chanting. Master Pudu said, all of the monks of Tianxian Temple are here to visit the Heavenly Mandate Academy if that is convenient for you. Please come in, said Lord Taixien, looking up into the sky. Suddenly, the people from Tianxian Temple strode forward, entering the academy. Soon they had reached Lord Taixien and Yi Futian. The monks all bowed slightly to him, saying, forgive us for disturbing you, Lord. It is no problem. We are honored to have you, said Lord Taixien with a smile. Why have you come? Have you heard the news from the Hidden Land Realm? Asked Master Pudu. I have, said Lord Taixien with a nod. Hell has reappeared and conquered the realm. I do not know if this is what effects this will have, good or bad. I must tell you, Hell's next target will likely be the Heavenly Mandate Academy, continued Pudu. This made a slight look of surprise come over Lord Taixien and Yi Futian's faces. Tianxian Temple was well informed. Pudu looked at Yi Futian and said, Benefactor Yi, I saw the girl Yi Qingyao once before in Jiuyou City. Might I see her more closely? Why do you seek Qingyao, master? Asked Yi Futian. The girl is very important. Hell will come here for her. I hope you will let us see why she is so important to them, continued Pudu. Yi Futian could not very well refuse him. Moreover, he already knew about Qingyao, so he had probably already figured out a good deal of the matter. They would not be able to hide her. His spiritual consciousness spread out until he found where she was. He said, bring Qingyao here. On saying this, he and the others waited there calmly. Not long after, Yi Qingyao arrived. When she saw everyone there, she could not help but lower her head a little. Come here, Qingyao, said Yi Futian with a smile. Yi Qingyao stepped lightly over to his side. He placed his left hand on her shoulder and said to Pudu, "Here she is." Pudu looked at her. In a flash, Buddha light glowed. Chanting filled the air. Pudu placed his hands on his chest and fingered his Buddhist beams. He closed his eyes but seemed to open his spiritual ones. It was as if the light had become his eyes. They pierced through all illusions, revealing the truth. Soon, Pudu's expression slightly changed. The Buddha light seemed to have been infected by a great power. The Buddha beads in his hand changed faster and faster. A clear sound rang out as the Buddha beads broke and fell to the ground. Pudu opened his eyes. He was normally as peaceful as a Buddha, seemed as furious as Vajra. His eyes were frightening to behold, and Qingyao was so scared that she would have fallen backward if Yi Futian had not held her up. Yi Futian looked at Pudu and saw killing intent in his eyes. He frowned and stood in front of Qingyao. Qingyao seemed terrified. She hugged him tightly. "Master," called out Lord Taishan. Only then did Master Pudu retract his aura. "Master," said Lord Taishan, his tone a bit dangerous, "are Buddhists not supposed to be compassionate? What is the meaning of this?" "Benefactor Yi, she cannot stay," said Master Pudu. "You are overstepping yourself, Master," said Yi Futian coldly. "Listen to me, Benefactor Yi. She will bring disaster," said Master Pudu. "You can tell the future?" said Yi Futian. "I cannot," said Pudu with a shake of the head. "So you are just guessing?" said Yi Futian. "Do Buddhist monks also kill indiscriminately?" "This is fate," said Master Pudu. "I don't care about fate. She is just a girl who has never hurt anyone. Do you not think that you are overreacting?" said Yi Futian. Pudu looked dispirited. He lowered his head slightly and said, "If it is a sin, I am willing to bear it." "How can you bear it?" asked Yi Futian coldly. "Is there anything in Buddhism about trading a life for a life?" Pudu said nothing. "If that is the way it is, then you must look after yourself. You are no longer welcome at the Heavenly Mandate Academy," said Yi Futian. When Pudu heard Yi Futian's words, he sighed inwardly. He looked at the girl, who poked her head out with tears in her eyes. At that moment, her eyes were clear and bright, making Pudu feel guilty and ashamed. But he could not forget what he had seen. "It's all right, Qingyao," said Yi Futian softly. Yi Qingyao looked up at him and smiled slightly. "Thank you, brother." Seeing this, Pudu clasped his hands together, and the chanting began again. "Since you are firm in this," he said, "I will desist. I hope that you can prevent anything bad from happening." Yi Futian ignored him, so he continued, "I apologize for disturbing you. We will station ourselves in Heavenly Mandate City. This girl cannot fall into hell's hands." On saying this, he took his people and left. Yi Futian was speechless. He was the first person to realize that Qingyao was special, but Pudu had obviously seen something as well, and what he had seen was different than what Yi Futian had seen. The powers behind hell were probably thinking of her as well. He had no way to predict what would happen next. "Qingyao, no matter what happens, don't grow to hate the world. Can you promise me that?" said Yi Futian, looking into her eyes. "Yes," she said, nodding seriously. Then she smiled and said, "I will always listen to you, brother, no matter where you are." "Good girl," he said, patting her head. "Let's go and find Yaya." Over the next few days, many people arrived at Heavenly Mandate City. The people of Heavenly Mandate Academy could sense them clearly. Many of the people from the forces that were coming were very strong. They came from other realms, and some came from the outer realms. The news had come from somewhere that hell was looking for someone, a girl. And this girl was at the Heavenly Mandate Academy. As more and more cultivators arrived, the people of Heavenly Mandate City could sense that a storm would descend upon the Academy once again. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1754 Mei Ting. Chapter 1754 Mei Ting. The Heavenly Mandate Academy's allies naturally knew of all this, and they sent people to him one after the other to speak with him about it. At that time, Xiao Muyu came to see Yi Futian. "Teacher, do you wish to ask me about the family?" she said to him. Yi Futian nodded. He said, "I did not know that so much would happen when I first met Qingyao in the Hidden Land realm. Otherwise, I don't think I could have been so righteous. But since I already brought her here, I can't just give her away. That would be too cruel. But I realize that I am not the only person here at the Heavenly Mandate Academy. I have spoken to Lord Taishin about this. Anyone, master or student, can choose not to join us, and I will not hold it against you. I will do this myself if I must. If the Shao clan and other forces are willing to help, I will do all I can to protect Qingyao. In short, I will do my best. I have spoken of this with others as well. You can report this back to your family." Xiao Muyu looked at Yi Futian, then smiled and said, "I do not know what my family will say, but I will support whatever choice you make." She had been born into one of the greatest power of the land, and she had become accustomed to people's indifference. She did not know if what Yi Futian was doing was right or wrong. Different people would evaluate his actions differently, but to have someone standing alone amongst the cold world of cultivators made her feel warm. This astounding teacher made her feel very safe, though she was not sure why. Perhaps it was just faith. "You are a goddess, there is no need to act like a young student," said Yi Futian with a smile. Xiao Muyu smiled back at him and said, "Then I will go and report to my family." "All right," said Yi Futian with a nod. Xiao Muyu left. When she was gone, Yi Futian frowned. His words had been light, but there was a weight in his heart. He was not a perfect person. If he had known that saving Qingyao would have caused such a stir, he probably would not have done so. After all, there were many pitiful girls like her in the world. He could not save them all. But there were some things that once you had decided to do, you had to live with the consequences. This was not so much a sort of kindness as it was a sort of righteousness. It could also be called a code of conduct. If his master had not given up his life to go to the Nandu clan, if Yi Xiang had not gambled his life, if the cottage had abandoned him when he was in danger, if Qi Xiangang and Yen Yuan had handed him over to Emperor Li, then he would not exist. Had they even known him that well? His master had only taught him a few songs. He had gone to the cottage to study art. And as for the imperial advisor and Yen Yuan, they were his natural enemies. All of them had plenty of reasons to abandon him. But they had not. He had grown up in an environment like this, and so he would naturally maintain this kind of worldview. Several days later, contrary to Yi Futian's expectations, the teleportation matrix at the Heavenly Mandate Academy lit up incredibly brightly, making all the disciples look towards it. A group of figures walked out. Yi Futian watched them too, his divine consciousness sweeping out towards them. He smiled and walked out to meet them. Cultivators from various top forces had all arrived, but now the three powerful figures who had met once before were all here at the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Now they were truly strong. A feast was prepared, and Lord Taishin, Yi Futian, and many others attended. No one brought up the matter of Qingyao, for no one needed to. After the feast, all of the great figures were given rooms in the academy. The whole academy was boiling over with discussions. After the others left, Yi Futian, Lord Taishin, and a few others stayed behind at the feast. "Are you surprised?" Lord Taishin asked Yi Futian, smiling. "A little," said Yi Futian with a nod. He had expected to encounter some resistance, not for things to go so smoothly. His three great allies had sent their strongest formations to support him and the decision he had made. "It shouldn't be hard to understand," said Lord Taishin, still smiling, a flash of wisdom in his eyes. He seemed to have already guessed what would happen. Yi Futian looked into his eyes, then nodded slightly. He realized that he should have known, too. In such a chaotic situation, if the Heavenly Mandate Academy can stand firm in the Heavenly Mandate realm, then in the future, you and the Academy will represent the next era, said Lord Taishin. What was happening now would possibly become an iconic event in the future. You are also one of the creators of this era, said Yi Futian. Although there was a lot of pressure right now, he still believed that if he could persevere, they would make history. I am honored, said Lord Taishin with a smile. Within the guest palace that the Shao clan was staying in, Old Man Shao, Shao Qianshan, and Xiao Muyu were all together. They watched the elder of the family, Shao Dingtian, enter the palace. Let's go, said Xiao Qianshan as he set off. Behind him, Xiao Hanjiang and Xiao Muyu followed. Grandfather. Xiao Muyu seemed like she wanted to ask something. Are you surprised that we came here ourselves? Xiao Qianshan asked her. Yes, said Xiao Mu, nodding. She was confused. You may be a Renhuang, but you are still young, and your sense of humanity is not well developed, said Xiao Qianshan. Right now, all the great forces are forming an alliance because we see Yi Futian's power and potential and because he helped you. But what is the most important thing in our alliance? Is it not your power? Asked Muyu. You could say that, but more precisely speaking it is Yi Futian, said Xiao Qianshan. It is not just his talent, but it is also his way of doing things. That is, his character and his perseverance are key to this alliance. But if he gets other ideas, this alliance will be very fragile. So, the absolute trust of all parties involved is required. Xiao Muyu did not quite understand. Right now, he can put forth all his power to defend that young girl. In the future, if Qingyao runs into any difficulties, or if we do, will he not put forth all his power to help her or us as well? If he abandons her now, then what about when he runs into a similar situation in the future? Said Xiao Qianshan. Yi Futian's decision has vast implications. Thus, all the great forces have come here. We are expressing our position by being here ourselves. When the power of our alliance truly comes together, only then will it mean anything. Xiao Muyu nodded slightly. She finally understood why she had felt so safe after speaking to Yi Futian. But danger is still coming, no? She asked. After all, their enemies were incredibly powerful. Of course, said Xiao Qianshan with a smile. But don't forget, the forces that are here are the most powerful ones in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Troubled times are approaching. In an era like this, compromise and retreat are neither wise nor safe. Only by moving forward through the storm and putting forth greater amounts of power can one stand firm. Heroes in chaotic times never compromise. They grow stronger through iron and blood. The vast heavenly mandate city seemed to be on a knife's edge. Any activity there would attract the attention of many cultivators. More and more legends about Yi Qingyao were spreading. Some people said she was the daughter of Hell, the dark inheritor. Hell was coming to take her back. Other legends said she was extremely talented. Yi Futian had noticed this and thus taken her as a disciple. These legends spread throughout Heavenly Mandate City. The cultivators of the Golden Divine Nation arrived at a restaurant. They had heard of these things too. There were two powerful figures among them, the sovereign of the Golden Divine Nation, Gai Tsong, and his brother Gai Qiong. Gai Qiong knew all about the enmity between Yi Futian and the Golden Divine Nation. Right now, they had let the matter rest, but Yi Futian had killed two of his nephews, so it was not hard to know how he felt about him. However, he was a vassal of Donghuang the Great. There was a good reason that they had been called together. And his own goals were related to Hell. That was to say that his goal would harm Yi Futian. That made him think, when should he make his move? At that moment, another group of people entered the restaurant. Everyone around looked up at them, and suddenly their hearts trembled. Even people off in the distance were shocked. After the cultivators of the Golden Divine Nation had arrived, the Shen clan had come as well. Moreover, they had brought several of their top figures. This group of people was too powerful by far. Gai Tsong, Gai Qiong, came a voice from someone of the Shen clan. Shen Gao. The sovereign and his brother said, looking at the man who had spoken. This man was a legendary figure whose name had shaken the 9 realms many years ago. Naturally, all three of them knew each other. The sovereign of the Golden Divine Nation has come here personally. What are you doing here? Asked Shen Gao with a smile, sitting at a table not far away from them. We're here to see all the chaos, said Gai Tsong indifferently. What about you? For exactly the same reason as you, answered Shen Gao. What about when you've had your fill of watching all this chaos? We'll see what happens then, said Gai Tsong. I heard that the cultivators of the mountain realm are here as well. The abbot himself came, said Shen Gao. The abbot had had the chance to leave, but he had not. He had chosen to stay in this world. Yes, I heard about that. People from the demon realm have come here as well, said Gai Qiong. The demon realm? A look of surprise came over Shin Gao's face. They are interested in the original realm too? Who knows? But I heard that they looked right into the Master of Hell's eyes and told him not to make any more trouble. Truly formidable. Who do you think the people who just arrived are? Probably one of the 8 great demon generals and his retinue, no? If so, there will truly be some chaos to watch. As they were talking, a black-robed figure was still sitting all alone in another restaurant, eating and drinking calmly and quietly. He was named Mei Ting, Mei meaning plum. He was one of the 8 great demon generals of the demon realm, sworn to the service of the demon emperor. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1755 The Tavern in the Darkness. Chapter 1755 The Tavern in the Darkness. Heavenly Mandate City was recently packed with mixed company, with the arrival of cultivators from everywhere and all sides. And among them, there were probably many cultivators from the Hidden Land realm who had already gotten inside the Heavenly Mandate City. Aside from the cultivators from the Devil World, the Shen clan, and the Golden Divine Nation who had arrived, most of the supreme powers in the land of the 9 supreme imperial realms, in truth, had all dispatched their people to the Heavenly Mandate City. Recently, a story about the girl had spread around. The fact that the abbot of Tianxian Temple had come in person to deal with this matter showed its importance. As the girl was also someone the Hell wanted, many cultivators from the outside had also gathered here. Everyone had a premonition that a storm was imminent in Heavenly Mandate City. This time, it seemed that drama was still centered around the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Ever since the establishment of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, it seemed to always be the center of attention. But could the Heavenly Mandate Academy survive this catastrophe? Presently, many forces from all sides had converged in one place. For example, where the cultivators from Shun Clan and the Golden Divine Nation had settled was also the place where the cultivators from Celestial Worthy Hall and Sky Reaching School had gathered. Moreover, the Celestial Worthy Temple in the upper worlds was equally powerful to the somewhat similar Shun Clan. The difference was that the Shun Clan was a family-based principality while the power possessed by Celestial Worthy Temple in the upper worlds was considered a sect. In the upper worlds, this principality was called Celestial Worthy Mountain, and it was created by a Skylord. Many of the unique methods that were cultivated today at the Celestial Worthy Temple all came from Celestial Worthy Mountain. Sky Reaching School was considered a local principality. This time, the gate of hell has opened. Who do you think will be sent to the lower worlds from the court? A cultivator from Celestial Worthy Mountain asked. They were also from the outside and knew who was the principality behind hell. In fact, the origin of the top forces in the Hidden Land realm today all once stemmed from that principality, but they competed in the original realm in the name of hell. The Dark World ruled by the Dark Court was a force at the same level as the divine prefectures of the East. In the endless Dark World, there were many who cultivated the dark arts. These cultivators were once ordered to cultivate in this world, thus created those other supreme forces such as the Hidden Land realm and the others. Therefore, judging from its source, the various principalities in the Hidden Land realm all operated within the influence of the Dark World. As for the Shun Clan, Celestial Worthy Mountain, and other forces, they were top principalities from the land of Divine Prefecture, which was the territory ruled by Donghuang the Great. Don't know, but if the girl is so important to the Dark Court, then whoever that comes this time will be someone mighty. They may possibly one of the prominent figures on the Dark Thrones. Anyone less would not do, Shingao replied. If this is the case, then who can stop the hell? The cultivator from Celestial Worthy Mountain looked at Gai Qiong. Brother Gai, what instructions from the Great Emperor? Will someone be sent to the lower worlds? Gai Qiong was a divine general under Donghuang the Great, who was also known as a super-powerful existence in the outside world. He held a high position in the army and was commanded by Donghuang the Great. If the emperor had an order, perhaps he would know. The emperor has his own plan, and it's not my place to ask, Gai Qiong said. His response showed great reverence to Donghuang the Great, who was the ruler of the Eastern Divine Prefecture. He had ended an era and now stood at the peak of Divine Prefecture. Didn't someone come from the mountain realm? Even if the great emperor didn't send someone, I don't believe these Buddhists would just stand by and watch. Well, the great emperor and Western heaven have always enjoyed a great relationship. Gaizong nodded. This was yet another rumor from many years ago, claiming that the great emperor rose from nothing and that in order to gain his experience in the world, he had once traveled to the Western heaven to seek Buddhist doctrines. Dong Huang the Great was supremely talented, and no methods in the world could not be mastered by him. Even the way of the Buddha, he could also master it just as well. The Buddha Lord of Western Heaven had wanted to take Dong Huang the Great as an heir, but he did not agree. Later, Dong Huang the Great created his own era, but his relationship with Western Heaven had always been close, and the Buddhists had reciprocated with their full support as well. In the unification process of the Divine Prefecture, the Buddhists had also made a great contribution. Put aside the incident with Emperor Yi Qing, Dong Huang the Great could be considered quite perfect, a true legend, and no one in the land of Divine Prefecture would not worship him. With the coming of the cultivators from the mountain realm, the question remained whether someone would be coming to the lower worlds from Western Heaven. Just wait quietly, everyone whispered. Not only them but all those in Heavenly Mandate City, where many cultivators had gathered. Many top figures were from the outside. This was truly a grand occasion. Yi Futian had been cultivating in the Heavenly Mandate Academy, and he had heard intermittent reports of the recent developments in Heavenly Mandate City. But the more he heard, the more pressure Yi Futian felt. No one knew what would happen in this situation, but a storm was definitely inevitable. Right at this moment, in the sky above the Heavenly Mandate City, the white clouds above the firmament gradually dissipated, and wisps of black light seemed to appear. The black clouds drove away the white clouds as the sky gradually darkened. It seemed night was about to descend. But it was only noon, so there should not have been any darkness. They are here. Countless people inside the Heavenly Mandate Academy looked up toward the void. Currently, those who were still at the Heavenly Mandate Academy were all cultivators in the Renhuang realm. Anyone below Renhuang had been sent away by Yi Futian through the teleportation Grand Matrix. In this impending storm, there was no sense for them to remain here, as they would only become a burden. By sending them away, their safety could be ensured. Yi Futian had promised his master Hua Fenglu that if there was to be a crisis, he and Nianyu would be sent to a safe place right away. And Yi Futian believed that those top forces would not be interested in those below Renhuang realm anyways. Even in the worst-case scenario, he would still be able to guarantee their safety. Here they come. In Heavenly Mandate City, countless people stopped in their tracks to look at the sky. The world seemed to be darkening. The dusky clouds floated in the sky, and the whole city was shrouded by a faint, oppressive power. This pressure gradually became stronger, and it didn't take long for many to feel great pressure or even a sense of suffocation. Above the dusky sky, there seemed to be dark lightning crashing down somewhere, lighting up that side of the world. In that terrible area of destruction and lightning, a terrifying storm appeared, from which an extremely powerful spatial might of Wei permeated. The dark lightning became more and more frightening, covering the sky and obscuring the sun. Terrible dark vortices appeared in many different places. Boom! Bang! Another loud crashing sound was heard, and the lightning storm fell down. Suddenly, illuminated by that lightning, a group of men appeared in the sky above Heavenly Mandate City, and every one of them exuded a terrifying aura. Then, accompanying the strengthening storm of destruction, great armies appeared successively, descended in different directions, but all in the same general area. When all the cultivators made their appearances one after another, a throne seemed to appear above the darkening sky, and an elusive figure appeared on the throne. He was wearing a long dark robe, but he did not seem real. What they saw caused many cultivators from the outside world to sharpen their focus. Could it be that this time the Dark Court had really dispatched such a terror-stricken existence as this? Was it to show their determination to get the girl? No one inside the Heavenly Mandate City dared to stand high in the sky, and all of them landed back on the ground. There was excitement in their hearts but also a touch of fear. If this war was to break out, would it affect the entire Heavenly Mandate City? They were too powerful. All the supreme forces in the Hidden Land realms seemed to have arrived, but they were not the main players, just followers. Presumably, the phantasmal figure upon the throne was their leader. The cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Academy looked grim. One after another, they rose into the air, looking into the distance. Even Lord Taishin had felt extremely heavy pressure. The opponent's formation was truly powerful this time. All the top forces from the Hidden Land realm were involved. Above the darkened void, the group moved forward. As the dark lightning of destruction continued to crash down, its might shocked the entire Heavenly Mandate City, and many buildings were smashed. A clear sound came from the top of a tavern. Here, only one person was still sitting there at the moment. Mei Ting. He looked down at the broken wine glass, which was shattered by the lightning. His indifferent eyes lifted slightly, looking at the mighty group of cultivators that was coming his way. "You have disturbed my drinking." An indifferent voice came out of him, not very loud. However, in an environment with the sound of lightning and storm, this voice was still exceptionally clear. Everyone could hear him clearly. Disturbed his drinking? At the tavern where Mei Ting was located, many eyes around him were looking at him, sitting there as if they had seen a ghost. Was this guy crazy? Under such circumstances, was he seriously complaining about his drinking being interrupted? The people in the void glanced at Mei Ting, ignored him, and continued moving forward. "Didn't you hear me?" Mei Ting insisted. But as his voice fell, terrible dark lightning directly descending from the sky. This incredibly thick dark lightning contained an unbelievably terrifying destructive power, with a horrific light of destruction, crashing down directly on the top of Mei Ting's head. Boom! There was a loud bang as lightning struck Mei Ting's head. The light of darkness was gleaming and flowed toward the tavern. However, neither Mei Ting nor the tavern suffered any damage. Unscathed, there was not one bit of reaction from him. Beneath such powerful destructive lightning, Mei Ting didn't even flinch. Mei Ting raised his head and glanced at the Renhuang who attacked him. The man came from the Fate world, a supreme power in the Hidden Land realm. He sat there and raised his hand. In an instant, a giant hand of the demonic way appeared in the sky. The hand smashed down at that Renhuang. This hand of the demonic way was like the hand of God, wrapping the heaven and the earth. In an instant, the opponent's body was held in the palm of that hand. At this moment, the face of that Renhuang changed. In the camp of the Fate world, many were looking at Mei Ting, who was below. As he began squeezing tightly, fresh blood flowed down the giant palm. A Renhuang was squeezed to death before he even had a chance to scream. "You guys had interrupted my drinking," Mei Ting said again. This time, no one dared to ignore his voice. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 1756 Arrogance. Chapter 1756 Arrogance. The advancing dark army suddenly halted. Above the darkened firmament, even as a terrifying storm was still raging, those cultivators were looking down below. The tavern under the darkened sky looked extraordinarily lonesome, and the man drinking inside the tavern seemed even more forsaken, as if he was the only one in the world. But those eyes had penetrated the void, overbearing and aggressive, gave everyone a feeling that even though he was sitting there alone, he could still vanquish an entire Renhuang army single-handedly. Above the darkened void, several men with a terrifying aura were coming toward him, as all eyes were fixed on Mei Ting. Not only them, but many of the prominent figures who had arrived at Heavenly Mandate City at this time had directed their divine spirits in Mei Ting's direction. No one expected that right before a great battle was about to erupt, someone who was drinking in a tavern would have killed a Renhuang in the great army because of a broken wine glass, and stopped this dark legion abruptly in its track. Who is he? Over where Shen Gao of the Shen clan, Gai Qiong, and other cultivators were located, They looked at the figure in black and wondered if there was really some devil general who had already arrived amongst them. The devil world was in a remote corner of the world and did not have much interaction with divine prefecture. It was known for its aggressive and objective ways, which made the whole world its enemy. The devil world had no allies, and everyone was an enemy, but they didn't much care. Everyone knew that the goal of the Devil Emperor was to dispatch the great army of the devil world to every part of the world and conquer it. And they had almost done it too. Before the unification of divine prefecture, the Devil Emperor had the idea of conquering the world. However, according to the rumors, before the great army of the devil world was dispatched, Dong Huang the Great and the Devil Emperor had a meeting. No one knew what happened during that meeting. Some said that the two fought an unprecedented battle without a winner. Finally, in the end, the Devil Emperor gave up the idea of conquering the world. It was also said that after that battle between the two of them, out of mutual respect, they had agreed that they would never set foot on each other's territory. In short, after that historic meeting, the cultivators of the devil world had stayed in the devil world without making any expedition. Among the famous 8 great devil generals, some were promoted later, replacing the previous generals. Therefore, very few people, if any, had ever seen the 8 great devil generals that were currently under the command of the Devil Emperor. So that even as Mei Ting was sitting there, Shen Gao and the others could only guess, but had no clue as to who he really was. Perhaps I was right. Next to him, Gai Qiong said, his bright golden eyes penetrating through the void, honing in on Mei Ting. No ordinary person would have the audacity to sit there alone and stop an entire army of darkness, let alone the ability to do so. If it were someone from the outside, they would have known that the Dark Court was behind this dark army. Even if it was a cultivator from in the devil world, for someone to be able to intercept the Dark Court alone, there could only be one possibility, and that was this person must have possessed powerful cultivation for him to be so confident. Who are you? Above the darkened sky, a figure spoke. The might of Wei that surrounded him descended and shrouded the tavern. However, at this moment, an apprehensive aura appeared around the tavern, making it impossible for the might of Wei to invade, and it seemed to have no effect on the person sitting inside the tavern. This man in black was indeed powerful. Mei Ting did not respond to the question. He glanced at the broken wine glass on the table and asked, "What are you going to do about it?" "About what?" The cultivator in the void looked cold and indifferent. He had killed a Renhuang over a broken wine glass, and he was asking them what do they want to do about it? Someone dared to be this arrogant and aggressive in the face of the Dark Army. "What do you want to do?" someone said indifferently. The one who spoke was a top figure in the Fate world. The Renhuang that died moments ago was his peer. Even though this man was extremely strong, he didn't think there was anyone who could be strong enough to counter an entire army. Never mind the many top figures that had come from the Hidden Land realm, just that supreme existence from the Dark Court alone should give everyone pause. "You are asking me?" Mei Ting looked at the other and asked instead, slowly getting up. Suddenly, a tremendous powerful demonic might swept across the sky. With Mei Ting as the center, a terrifying storm was forming. Countless demonic currents raged across the sky, and pitch-black demonic currents moved through the space with wrath. Then, Mei Ting stepped into the void. At this moment, the sky seemed to be quite still, and countless cultivators felt that it was difficult to move. Everyone was oppressed by a suffocating force of the Great Path. When the Region Lord of the Fate world felt this aura of the Great Path, his expression altered somewhat. He took a step as a horrific destructive image of life and death appeared in the sky. Infinite death rays sprinkled down, turning into pitch-black lightning of death. The space seemed to be on the verge of collapse and destruction. Under the lightning of death, it seemed that no life could exist, a true doomsday scenario. Boom, boom, boom. There was a terrible sound of destruction, but it did not seem to affect Mei Ting much. With him as the center, an independent field of the Great Path was forming, so that even as that terrible destructive lightning slammed down, it could not breach the defense of the Great Path. Buzz. Mei Ting took a step forward, but his body disappeared in the next moment, turning into a black afterimage. "Watch it!" Everyone's expressions suddenly changed. Where the army of the Fate world was located was penetrated directly by a dark light, and no one could make out that shadow clearly. Not only was it fast, but all the cultivators were being oppressed by the great path. It was as if they didn't even have the ability to dodge. The dark light traveled in a straight line as it traversed directly through the army of the Fate world. Time seemed to stand still. Mei Ting appeared behind the great army, with his back facing the army of the Fate world. The next moment, in that straight line, the bodies of all the cultivators exploded and shattered, turning into dust. The rest of those who were still alive trembled, turning their heads cautiously to look at the man in shock, with great fear in their eyes. The region lord of the Fate world was pale. His eyes fixed on the back of that man, who was still standing there quietly. One strike had smashed through an area, killing anyone who was in its path. It seemed that his fist was no longer human. The light streamers of the demonic way still wreaked havoc between heaven and earth, and the Dark Legion was shaken by it. The people in Heavenly Mandate City felt this even more so. Way too powerful. No one imagined that a demonic cultivator who casually sat and drank in a tavern could be so powerful to this terrifying degree. How many other awesome existences were currently inside Heavenly Mandate City at this moment? Even at the Heavenly Mandate Academy at this time, as Lord Taishan and many other cultivators stood above the academy, covering the endless area with their divine spirit, they were shocked into speechlessness. With the coming of the great army, they had made the preparation for war. However, as the army was passing by a tavern, a wine glass was broken, and someone's drinking was interrupted. Therefore, in a most dramatic fashion, the army was forced to stop. Among the cultivators at the Heavenly Mandate Academy, the Dragon Master of the Dragon Gods was also present, and he was shocked even more as he saw what was played out before him. He had seen that man before, and it was at the Dragon Gods. Unless the other had done this to help the Heavenly Mandate Academy? This turn of event perplexed him greatly. At the Dragon Gods, the other had killed the demonic dragon, so why would he help them now? Lord Taishan, Futian, this man had been to the Dragon Gods just a few days ago. The Dragon Master transmitted his voice to Lord Taishan and Yi Futian. Both Lord Taishan and Yi Futian looked curious. Yi Futian asked in return, what was he doing there? To see the demonic dragon. Soon after his visit, the demonic dragon of Longyuan perished. The Dragon Master continued to speak through voice transmission, as he didn't want to relay the information in public. After all, the current situation was way too complicated. It was better not to disclose the matter. You mean the Dragon Elder who taught you Sheng? Yi Futian asked. Well, I was going to tell you about this later, the Dragon Master continued. Yi Futian was extremely disturbed. He knew that the demonic dragon had instructed Yu Sheng. It was said that the demonic dragon was imprisoned in Longyuan because of his involvement with Emperor Yi Qing. Was there any connection to all this? His foster father was a demonic cultivator, and the skills taught to Yu Sheng was also demonic methods, and the sword that was given to the great senior brother was a demonic sword. He suddenly had a bold idea. When the demonic dragon instructed Yu Sheng back then, could it be because he knew who Yu Sheng was? Could this powerful demonic cultivator be coming for none other than Yu Sheng? What exactly was the true identity of this foster father? However, guessing was all that could be done at the moment. If this was really the case, that this person was here for Yu Sheng, then the matter was more involved than previously imagined. He had a vague feeling that the mystery of both Yu Sheng and his birth was getting closer to being unraveled. Perhaps after they got out, they would have the chance to find the answer. Mei Ting. At this moment, a terrible sound was heard from above the firmament. It resounded throughout the entire Heavenly Mandate City. Above the darkened sky, an infinitely domineering dark figure appeared. With the appearance of this figure, infinite darkness descended on the throne, and the phantom in front of the throne gradually solidified. Accompanying the infinite darkness, the figure upon the throne turned into an entity, a cultivator dressed in a dark robe. The moment he appeared, the sky seemed to grow even more horrific. However, all the cultivators from the outside world were shocked by the two words he spat out. Mei Ting. Mei Ting was one of the 8 great devil generals under the command of the Devil Emperor. It turned out that a devil general from the devil world had truly arrived. Although they had never seen him before, the names of the 8 great devil generals were well known to all. As for the figure that just appeared, cultivators from the outside world stared at the man upon the throne. Another super cultivator had arrived. One of the kings of the Dark Court, only that no one knew who the king that had arrived here was. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. The Dark Court had 7 great thrones that were occupied by the Dark Kings. The 7 Dark Kings ruled the Dark World for the Dark Emperor. In the Dark World, every cultivator on the throne had unparalleled authority and awesome strength. The Dark Court had 7 great thrones that were occupied by the Dark Kings. The 7 Dark Kings ruled the Dark World for the Dark Emperor. In the Dark World, every cultivator on the throne had unparalleled authority and awesome strength. For such characters, in the Void Realm as well as the outside world, they would always be the topmost existence. 2 great men at the peak of their existence from the outside world, including Mei Ting, who was one of the 8 great devil generals, had now made their appearances in Heavenly Mandate City of the Void Realm. Such a grand occasion was rare, even in the outside world. "Yuming," Mei Ting said as he raised his head and glanced at the figure on the throne. Suddenly, everyone from the outside knew that the Dark King who had arrived was the master of the Yuming throne. Yuming had come here in person. Just how important was that girl? "Since they interrupted your drinking, allow me to have a drink with you." Yuming sat on the throne. With him as the center, a suffocating pressure enveloped the space where he and Mei Ting were, as a death storm was raging. He stretched out his hand, and 2 wine glasses appeared in front of his palm, suspended in the air. Then, he took out a jug of wine and poured it into the glasses, filling them to the brim. "Please," Yuming said, and suddenly, one of the glasses of wine, like lightning, flew in Mei Ting's direction. Mei Ting reached out into the air, and the wine glass abruptly stopped, steadily, in front of his hand. The wine in the glass had not moved in the slightest. Yuming raised his glass to Mei Ting from the distance and drank up. Mei Ting did the same. Afterward, he waved his hand and sent the glass back. Everyone from the outside world was quite frightened. Not many could command the master of the Dark Throne to pour the wine in person. The 8 great devil generals of the devil world must have been at the same level as the other so that even the master of the Yuming throne had to treat him with respect. "Mei Ting, the devil emperor hasn't ventured outside for hundreds of years. You wouldn't be here at the original realm just to stop me, would you?" After all, the devil world had never been interested in the original realm. Yuming poured the wine again and remarked. His position was superior enough, but he wouldn't be so conceited as to think that the devil world would be here because of them. Those from the devil world were known to be willful and arrogant. There were also many things that they would not deign to do. Rather than believing that Mei Ting had come to stop them, he would rather believe that it was because they did interrupt Mei Ting's drinking because the latter was more consistent with their temperament. Because you were defeated, the original realm ended up being ruled by Donghuang the Great. Why are you here in the original realm? Mei Ting asked instead. That was many years ago. On the throne, Yuming smiled. But even his smile was chilling to those who beheld it. As you were. Continue with what you are supposed to do, Yuming looked at the army and commanded. He then turned his attention to Mei Ting and continued, since they disturbed your drinking, how about I stay here and drink with you? He didn't insist on knowing Mei Ting's purpose, he would just play along with the drinking pretext. Nor would he pursue the matter that Mei Ting had killed one of his men. Every master on the Dark Throne was ruthless. In their eyes, the end justified the means. If he really wanted to settle the matter, he would have to fight Mei Ting. But the battle would affect the others, and he couldn't really say for sure that he could suppress Mei Ting. That works, Mei Ting responded coolly. A smile appeared at the corner of Yuming's mouth. Suddenly, in front of him, the army moved forward once again, marching oppressively toward the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The army, hindered by Mei Ting alone, finally moved on. The region lord of the Fate world looked gloomy. But if the master of the Yuming throne did not pursue the matter, how could he? After all, these powerful men from the outside world were much too strong than even their own top figures in the original realm. The army marched forward, dark and heavy, and the sky dimmed without light. An extremely tyrannical mass descended on the sky above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. A devastating death storm raged above the sky, and a horrific vortex appeared above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. It seemed intent on swallowing everything in its path. Someone stepped out. Their body was surrounded by a flowing dark light with a terrifying aura. He looked down at the Heavenly Mandate Academy below and said, "Turn her over to us, and no one will lose their lives today." Lord Taishin looked at him and replied, "That is not something that the Heavenly Mandate Academy is accustomed to doing. Never have and never will," everyone in the Heavenly Mandate City exclaimed silently. This was the courage of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Anyone inside the Heavenly Mandate Academy had no reason to be handed over to someone else. They would rather go to war than hand over the girl. What appeared to be sacrificing a single person to avoid war was not as it appeared. Once, Shen Ji from the Shen clan had come and demanded the Heavenly Mandate Academy to surrender Yi Futian to him, but it did not acquiesce. After that, the Heavenly Mandate Academy joined their allies to go to the Shen clan and made their demands. That time, Yi Futian gambled with his life, but even so, the Shen clan did not easily turn over those that he wanted, not until the intervention from an already crazed Sky River Great Elder. In that exchange, the reputation of the Shen clan was completely destroyed. Instead, Yi Futian and the Heavenly Mandate Academy claimed their fame on the back of the Shen clan. That was probably an eternal shame that the Shen clan could never live down. And now, the Heavenly Mandate Academy would not compromise. Is it worth it? The clan leader of Clan of the God of Ghost pronounced loudly, looking down at Lord Taishin below. Today's battle, even if just one person from the Heavenly Mandate Academy perishes, the Academy will forever be at war with the Hidden Land realm for today's participation. Maybe I won't be able to stop you, but unless you all disappear from the Hidden Land realm forever, you will rue this day until the end of time, Lord Taishin said. If they were to unleash their utmost against any Renhuang, any low-level Renhuang would not stand a chance. Lord Taishuan's indifferent voice caused great internal conflicts for those forces from the Hidden Land realm. It was true that they had considered the possibility of an eternal grudge. If they insisted, they would probably always be facing the threats of death in the future. However, it seemed that they had no choice but to destroy the Heavenly Mandate Academy. However, the appearance of Mei Ting, who was capable of stopping their leader, suddenly put a damper on things. They were not so sure now that they could destroy the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Above the sky, the dark storm was getting stronger still. In the sky above the Heavenly Mandate Academy, an immense storm of destruction appeared, covering the firmament. Countless devastating lightnings seemed to be raging in the storm. This storm seemed to be moving, gradually eating away the boundless space. Beneath the sky, everyone in the Heavenly Mandate Academy felt a force of destruction. But at this moment, infinite light of the Buddha descended and enveloped the heavens. A group of dazzling figures traveled from the far-off void and came upon the space above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The breadth of these Buddhist cultivators was astounding. They clasped their hands together and chanted the sound of the Buddha. Suddenly, as the sound lingered, thousands of Buddha appeared in the sky, filled the sky. Figures of the Buddha condensed and manifested, responding to the dark power. The Buddha's handprint reached out toward the sky, and suddenly, the sky was blocked by the light of the Buddha so that the destructive power was unable to descend. Buddhist cultivators from the mountain realm, many remarked with shock, for the man heading the group was the abbot of Tianxian Temple, who was also an eminent monk. Was it not enough that the king of hell perished in the void realm? Now you are here to repeat the same mistakes. The abbot of Tianxian Temple said loudly. The king of hell, who had perished in the past, was also one of the cultivators who occupied the dark throne of the dark court, the master of the hell throne. However, the master of the hell throne was suppressed by the Vajrabuddha with Buddhist doctrine, and the two died together. In that battle, Vajrabuddha, the strongest Buddha in the mountain realm, fell as well. Heaven loves all living things. The war of the past did not affect the forces in the Hidden Land realm, but now you want to help the evildoers and set off the storm again. If the Vajra Buddha is here, I am sure he would not be as merciful back then. The abbot continued his admonishment, which did not speak kindly of the forces from the Hidden Land realm. The forces from the Hidden Land realm were also aware of their connection with the Dark World. However, Donghuang the Great did not involve them and allowed them to continue their cultivation in the Void Realm. In the distance, Yu Ming, who was drinking with Mei Ting, saw what transpired there as well. Just as he had suspected, the attempt at a comeback this time was not so easy. This Void Realm was more difficult to chew than they had imagined. The Heavenly Mandate Academy, the first opponent they encountered, already gave them huge troubles by pledging their lives to save an inconsequential girl. At the moment, the composition of the Heavenly Mandate Academy was already considerable. In addition to the allied forces gathered at the Heavenly Mandate Academy, there were now reinforcements from the Mountain Realm. Secretly, there were still many cultivators who might still be joining in. More importantly, the cultivator on the throne, the strongest of them all in the Hell Army, was still there, drinking. The two mighty armies were in a face-off, while Lord Taishan and several other major figures walked to the front. The aura that swept across the sky was extremely terrifying. At this moment, not far from Heavenly Mandate Academy, another group appeared with a terrifying aura, as if they might also join the battlefield. Shangxiao Divine Palace is intervening? The clan leader of Clan of the God of Ghost looked at the group of cultivators, who were from Shangxiao Divine Palace of the Higher Heavens Realm. Whether this world is the Void Realm or the original realm, it is not allowed to be trampled. If the Hidden Land Realm wants to take action, then the name of the Hidden Land Realm will be struck out. The voice of their leader was indifferent but still determined. If there were to be a war, Shangxiao Divine Palace would not sit idly by. It would intervene. The Divine Palace did not normally inquire about outside affairs, but this matter was different. This sight in front of him moved Yi Futian tremendously. He remembered the stone tablets he saw in the ancestral land when he was seeking the truth in the Divine Palace. The inscriptions on the stone tablets were, "The heart for heaven and earth, the life for the people, to pass on the sacred learning, to seek peace for generations." The Divine Palace was a true preaching holy land. Although it wasn't swayed by outside disturbances, its heart was always in the world. Presently, with the invasions of outside forces, a large army descended upon the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The cultivators from Divine Palace had come to back them up. As a result, the makeup of their groups had become even more powerful. Even the entire forces of the Hidden Land Realm were to join together, it would be difficult to shake up their opponent. Yi Futian pondered that although the world of cultivation was a cruel one, there were still many who cared about the world. They didn't want to see the chaos of centuries ago sweeping through the world once again. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.